Week 4 is upon us, and we have a special matchup today. Well, tomorrow, actually, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Hello, everyone. My name is Brett McDurphy. Joining me today is my partner in crime, Sean Kula of the Red, White, and Bills. And we are going to talk about the epic Sunday night football matchup between the Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens. This one is going to be one of those matchups where we have two high-profile offenses and then two defenses that are looking to get back on track. They're starting to build form, but they need to get back to the elite status that they want to get to. One of these teams could end up getting their first loss. The other team could be out of playoff contention. We'll see what happens tomorrow night at 8:15. But before we begin our pregame show, we are going to hit our intro real fast. Welcome to Nickel City Mafia, where our family business is football, and welcome to an edition of Red, White, and Ruthless, presented by GoBillsPodcast.com, Red, White, and Bills, and Nickel City Mafia. I want to turn it over real quick to the chat and let you guys know how great it is to see you guys after everything that we had going on down in Florida. Real quick, I want to say a prayer real fast. For everybody that's been in the path of Hurricane Helene. I'm in Sarasota, Florida, which is where some of the damage for the hurricane was, but a lot of people had it worse than me. My hometown of Sarasota got devastated. Siesta Key, which is a big area, it's a big tourist town, got hit very badly. I have a lot of friends that are without homes, without their lives are completely destroyed. And everything that they have is gone, and now they have to rebuild. But by the grace of God, we were able to make it through it, and we can fix what we have. But we can't fix lives that have been lost. So I want to pray for the families that lost their loved ones. I want to pray for the people that lost their homes, and I also want to pray for the EMTs and firefighters and FPL people that we're out volunteering to help out as much as possible. Those are the real heroes here. So before we begin the show, I want to dedicate this episode of Nickel City Mafia and Red, White, and Ruthless to everybody that's been affected from the hurricane. But Sean, we have an important matchup today or tomorrow that we're going to have for the Buffalo Bills. And it feels like it's only 24 hours away. So I can say today, kind of technically.
Yeah, it's within the day.
Away. So it's technically today. But this matchup is going to be one of the most premier matchups between a Buffalo Bills team that's looking to put themselves on the map, going up against a high-profile offense and defense in the Baltimore Ravens versus a Lamar Jackson-led Baltimore Ravens that have been struggling out of the gates a little bit. They're starting to pick up form after getting their first win against the Dallas Cowboys, and then now they're looking to get back into playoff contention. This is one of those matchups that I say if Buffalo wins this one, this is going to solidify them as one of the best teams in the NFL if they can win this one. If they go on from here and they beat Houston, then that makes it even more obvious that the Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I said earlier, I forgot who I said it to, but it seems like this game is a lose-lose for us as far as if you lose, you lose, and that sucks. But if you win, people will ignore that the Ravens are a great football team and say, oh, well, they're 1-3. You're supposed to win. Because all we've heard so far is, oh, the Bills' opponents are combined 2-7. But preseason, we were told this team is regressing significantly. They can't play without Diggs. Allen's going to suck. This team's going to miss the playoffs. They're going to win 6 games, 7 games. And now that we're starting to demolish teams, it's, oh, well, the Dolphins stink. Oh, the Jaguars stink. Well, if you look at they're previewed to be contenders, not because of what the record's going to be, but because of the rosters they have. And from last time I checked, the Dolphins still have a great roster, and so do the Jaguars. So records aside, it's just what people are going to say about Buffalo now, because now it's just, oh, now you have to beat the Ravens to be a good team. But then if we win, they're going to bring up the Ravens are 1-3, regardless of how much talent they have. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think that when you look at this team, again, their defense is a little bit, lacking because they lost their defensive coordinator, and they were the best defense in the league. They were historic last year, actually. They won the Triple Crown for points allowed, sacks, and turnovers, I believe. So, again, very hard to duplicate that year after year. But when you compare the offenses, as far as efficiency goes, it's us one and them two. So offensively, they're ready to go. It's just their defense, again, has been having a little trouble. Whereas, we're pretty much firing on all cylinders. So, it'll come down to, little key plays here and there. But yeah, this is a great football team we're going against.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the best in the NFL. And I do see the comment section real quick. I will be getting to those. Bills fan CA, Trek Reviewer. I see you guys out there. We appreciate you guys for coming into the chat. But this is going to be one of those matchups going up against a Baltimore Ravens team that in the past, they lead the series for the Buffalo Bills. Since 1999, the Baltimore Ravens have won 6 out of 11 of the matchups between the Buffalo Bills and Ravens. That's one of the biggest stats to have. The last time the Bills played, they were actually down in the game, and it came down to a last-minute Tyler Bass field goal. I don't know if you remember this, Sean, back October 2nd, 2022, where the Buffalo Bills were able to defeat the Baltimore Ravens. We were down in that game, came all the way back. We saw Jordan Poyer have 2 interceptions in that game, and it was a big performance from the Bills. I believe Von Miller had a sack in that game, and that's one of the last games that he had when he was before the ACL injury. But it's awesome to go back and say that the last time that we went up against this team, and we had a lot of talent there with Matt Milano still active as well. But it's kind of funny to go back and watch that and see Tremaine Edmonds as well as the other players like Jordan Poyer that were on the team a few years ago.
Yeah, that was an interesting game because we had just lost to Miami for the second time only in Josh Allen's career in week 3. And then we were down 20-3 to Baltimore. I was like, okay, I don't remember our exact messages in our group chat, but I was probably saying stuff like, well, good teams don't lose 2 games in a row, which is kind of true. And, all this other stuff, but then came back and won. And, if you remember the first drive, I think it was windy and Josh threw it past the Knox. It kind of sailed on him, went behind him, and then he tipped it, and then they picked it off. So it's like, going back to what Mike said, the weather. And I got friends that are Baltimore fans and are heading to Baltimore. And it's going to be raining. The field's going to be wet, and you got conditions. I don't know about wind, but ball security is very important because, again, how efficient their offense is too. You don't want to give them extra opportunities, just like they don't want to give us extra ones. And Mike says some rain at game time and hours leading up to the game. So no matter what, the field's going to be wet and slippery, and it's grass. So make sure they're wearing the right cleats.
Right.
And then, if you want to answer it first, how does it affect? Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. How do you feel that affects the teams, or does it not? Or does it now? They are both heavy. I'm sure you meant not. They are both heavy run teams. What do you think?
I think it's going to affect the game a little, but one of the biggest things that you have to remember is I think it affects the Baltimore Ravens more because Lamar Jackson doesn't have the strong arm that Josh Allen does. Lamar is very fast. He's very, very explosive when it comes to running the ball, which makes it harder for the Buffalo Bills, especially when you're going up against Lamar and Derrick Henry now that's going to be in the backfield for the Baltimore Ravens. On the other side of things for the Bills, you have Josh Allen that can throw the ball through the wind. He can get it downfield. He can get it to his receivers. The receivers have been playing very well. So have the tight ends. But on the other hand, the Bills have a very good run game, and I want to focus on that next week. I was supposed to focus on it this week, but the storm happened. But next week, we're going to be focusing on my channel, the emergence of the run game and how they've done. The running backs and James Cook, Ray Davis, as well as Ty Johnson have done a phenomenal job, not only of being good in the running game, but also in the passing game. You look at what they've done. The running backs have had a few touchdowns over the last few weeks, and they've done a great job of protecting Josh Allen as well. And when you have a running back like Ray Davis come in on third down and he's picking up players such as linebackers and putting them on their ass, that's impressive to me. I'm going to tell you that right now. You look at the film, Sean, look at the all 22 of the last 3 games that we played. It's incredible what you're seeing from them. So I think that the Bills are going to be fine. It's just a matter of how bad is the weather necessarily. And I think with Josh, you're fine. But can the receivers catch and hold on to the football? That's the biggest concern for me. But you got to remember, big physical wide receivers like Matt Collins and Keon Coleman, I think we'll be okay there. They're going to be able to hold the ball in and tuck it in better than smaller receivers that we've had in the past.
Yeah, that's huge. And then I think it affects both teams for sure, just because of footing. So, guys like Lamar, when they run the option and he's very quick and agile and, makes cut moves that are insanely fast. If he's looking like he might be able to break one, he might slip, and then that might give you a perfect amount of time to get there and tackle him or disrupt the play. Whereas if it was dry, it would be a big gain. So really, it's going to be important to again stay in your lanes and in your gaps, and don't get out of that, and then wear the right equipment, because you saw even Ray Davis the other day. I think on 2 of his runs, he slid and could have got better gain. Instead, he got 0 because he fell. And again, that's on the equipment staff and the players to make sure you're wearing the right stuff. But even so, even if it's wet and you have the right stuff on, you can still slip. So I know that you can see people not slip, but it's like the extra focus on making sure I plant every movement. Whereas if it was dry, you can kind of just go with the flow, not taking it easy, but you don't have to really okay, I got to make sure my foot's really planted in when I take my first step.
Right.
Weather's always a factor. And then it affects trench play too, because if the defensive line can't get proper footing, it's easier for them to get blocked. It's easy for the offensive line if it's the offensive lines can't get set and their pass pros and their pass sets, then it'd be easier for the defensive line. So we'll see how the field is at game time, but it doesn't affect one team more than the other, basically. Long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, you're exactly right with that, Sean. Real quick, I want to go over to the little update on the weather. The National Weather Service forecast for Baltimore on Sunday evening calls for likely showers around game time with cloudy skies and humid conditions. The temperature will hover around 70 degrees for the duration, and winds will be breezy but progressively calmer as time goes on. The AccuWeather forecast calls for cloudy conditions and wind gusts as strong as 20 miles an hour during game time. While it calls for a low chance of rain, the forecast does expect very high humidity at kickoff. So that will be interesting to see what does happen. One says that there's going to be some rain. The other one says that there's not going to be some rain. So we're not meteorologists on this channel. I'll tell you that right now. And, meteorologists make good money for predicting the weather to sometimes be wrong. And that's can be the case. But we'll see what does happen. I want to go over to the chat real quick. We do have a lot of messages coming in. I see Bills Fan CA and Trek Reviewer. Appreciate you, Trek Reviewer, for tuning in. We've gone over a couple of these from Bills Fan CA. Obviously, the hurricane he mentions. Hopefully, everybody's dealing with the hurricane well, and everybody's gotten out of it okay. My family is okay, as well as everybody that I do know is doing okay, but some of them are out, like I said, out of homes. Let's go over to this comment from Bills Fan CA. He says that the offenses seem to be similar, having a great quarterback, love the 12 personnel, and don't have a really top-tier wide receiver from both teams. Yeah, this is exactly one of the points that we're going to talk about later on in the show. And I love what he's mentioning there. Another comment coming in. I'm concerned about our linebackers covering those tight ends over the middle. Would love your thoughts on this, guys. Sean, if you're available, I'd love to know from you, man. What are your thoughts on the linebackers covering the wide receivers and tight ends of the Baltimore Ravens? Do you think that we're going to be all right?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious for the tight ends. It's a height advantage for likely, but I think they can keep up with them. I'm not concerned about that. And then again, Mark Andrews seems to be having a slow start to the season, but again, he's a fantastic player. So I wouldn't be surprised if he can make some plays. But yeah, Isaiah Likely, he's like 6'8", 6'7", probably. So he's going to be a mismatch for the linebacker, even if Milano and Bernard were there. So regardless, it would have been a mismatch. But I'm confident that they can keep up with them and make plays on them if need be. And again, if we can get our pass rush home in a quick enough time where they can't develop, deeper routes in the middle of the field, then we'll be okay. But Todd Monken and his offense, I think they've thrown outside the numbers past 10 yards 12 times in 3 games. So they're not looking to beat you downfield. They want to do kind of the efficiency kind of offense where you get the ball to your playmakers' hands like Zay Flowers, and then see what they do with it. So they'll be trying to do kind of what we do, only we do a little bit more intermediate to downfield as well. But they're going to try to get you within like the 5 to the 10 yard range. So as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, staying in your lane and your gap, and paying attention, I think we'll be okay. But again, they can still throw the ball downfield. They just haven't yet. So maybe they're going to do it this time. But for 3 weeks, they really haven't. So they're going to run the ball and they're going to try to be efficient. So as long as you're keeping everything in front of you and you can keep up with these, at least be in lockstep with these players, I think it'll be okay. And, we can still play our brand of defense.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Sean. I think that the one thing that I would like to see from the defense, though, is man-to-man coverage on the outside. Maybe play a little bit of a zone defense in the middle of the field just to cover what the Baltimore Ravens are going to run. I think, especially with our cornerbacks on the outside, I don't think that they're going to throw the ball to the outside. You got Christian Benford, you got Rasul Douglas on the outsides. They've been 2 of the top tier cornerbacks in the NFL over the past 3 weeks. I feel like inside you're going to have to tighten the coverage. You're going to have to bring the safeties up a little bit, especially when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield that they're going to try and run the ball with using that 12 personnel. Bring guys up because, like you mentioned, they're only running the ball and throwing the ball 10 yards down the field. So that makes it easier for the Bills to cover on those plays. And when it comes to Zay Flowers, yeah, you're going to have to cover him. Maybe you get a little bit of help from a safety over the top, but that's pretty much the biggest weapon when it comes to the outside boundaries for a receiver. You have to look at the tight ends inside with Mark Andrews. Yes, he is hurt, but I feel like he's playing more of that blocking tight end role in this offense, and he's going to break out in one of these games coming up. Don't get me wrong. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. I'm interested because I mean we usually 99% of the time we play nickel, but I think I want to say there was times, and I think one of the times was against Derrick Henry where we ran out in a normal 4-3 with 3 linebackers, but the quarterback wasn't Lamar Jackson. The quarterback was Ryan Tannehill. So I'm interested because you got to remember they have a 315-pound fullback and Pat Ricard and then Derrick Henry. So you're gonna meet linemen plus a 300-pound fullback plus a 250-pound running back. So I'm not certain if we're gonna come out there with a light box, which we usually we probably ran the most plays with the lightest box in the NFL this year because that's what we play nickel. Again, and when you play nickel, you are more susceptible to the susceptible to the run. And because obviously it's the kind of defense you're in, and are we going to try to focus on stopping the run and let the pass beat us, or are we going to focus on just doing what we do and then see if we can do both at the same time? So I'll be interested to see how we start. But Cam Lewis is also really good at run defense too, so I think we'd be fine either way. But it is something to keep in mind because that run game is, and they won't give up on the run either. If they're down by 2 scores, they're going to keep running. So
Yeah.
you really got to continuously shut it down because, I mean, even though Cowboys have a bad run defense, they put up 275 rushing yards on the Cowboys with Lamar and Derrick Henry. So they can do it. And that's one of their best weapons, and they're going to continue to do it. So you got to continuously be physical and want to stop the run. You got to win in the trenches. Linebackers got to be able to tackle. Secondary's got to be able to tackle. You can't arm tackle and be weak. And then again, while you're focusing on stopping Derrick Henry, you got to remember the option with Lamar Jackson. So really got to pay attention and staying in your. And I mentioned it before, and really every time we play Lamar Jackson or a mobile quarterback like him, again, not many mobile quarterbacks are like him, but you know what I mean. It's really important for the DNs to play contain while they're rushing, and then force them back inside. And if you don't get any interior push, then he can still beat you. But if you can get the interior push and you can keep him from going outside, that's when you can sack him and get him, into making bad throws and then running backward. You've seen it. We get him in the pocket. He runs backwards 20 yards to make a play, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. We sacked him pretty deep for a couple times in his career. So if you can, again, keep contained, and it's really important because it's not about, as a defensive end, you just want to get in there and make plays. But if your job that day is to keep contained and flush Lamar Jackson, keep him inside, and you might not get any sacks or pressures, you did your job though. And that's what a lot of people don't get is like, And I was listening to one of the Dolphins defensive line coach today. I was listening to a buddy talk in his podcast, and he was playing the thing, and it spoke to me a little bit. Everybody gets mad in our fan base when Ed Oliver doesn't pop or Daquan Jones, but their coach was mentioning how they're talking about Zach Seiler, and they were saying how, and I've tried to mention it before, but they all have special assignments specifically for different games. So Seiler might have a game where he's just meant to keep eyes in the backfield, control the line of scrimmage, and stay in that gap so the linebackers and everyone else can make plays. But when some of our fan base sees that, they think Ed Oliver's not doing shit. Ed Oliver can't play in the big games. But in all reality, his assignment isn't to rush the passer every snap and get 3 sacks a game and 20 tackles. His job is to, again, keep eyes in the backfield, control the line of scrimmage, and make sure everyone else can make plays by taking up the gap and taking up a double team. It's not just about statistics 100% on defensive line. It's about doing your matchup and your assignment for that day. So you don't have to expect a bunch of sacks and pressures from your defensive ends unless we can do our job all across the board. Because you're not going to bring down a guy like Lamar Jackson if only one of your 4 defensive linemen are doing their job. Right. Regular Phil can keep great contain, we'll say, right? And if Oliver and Jones can't get the push up front, and then Epinesa and Vaughn can't keep containing the outside, he's going to get by you still, and then it's not going to work. But they could still produce and get pressures and stats on the stat sheet if collectively they all do their job. So it's very important to understand that you might not see the D tackles step up and get all these big stats on the stat sheet, but they have a job to do, and you might not notice it, but they're doing their job 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sean, with what you're saying. I want to turn it over to the injury reports for both teams real quick. It mentioned some of the injuries that for the Baltimore Ravens we'll start off with. Jalen Amore Davis, a cornerback, has a hamstring injury. He will be out for the game, as well as Andrew Voorhees, offensive lineman, has an ankle injury. He is doubtful to play in the game. Other injuries to report other than that, center Tyler Linderbaum is questionable for the game. He has a knee injury. He'll be a game-time decision for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll turn it over to the Buffalo Bills. Other than the normal injury reports that you see with Josh Allen's left hand, Kyer Elam has a neck injury. He is good to go for the game, though. Tyron Grable for the Buffalo Bills, groin injury, is out for this game. He has been placed on IR as well. The Bills did move that transaction as far as his roster spot over to Will Clapp. He is now on the active roster for the Buffalo Bills. Taron Johnson, cornerback, has a forearm injury, is out for the game, as well as Terrell Bernard, the middle linebacker who had the team leading tackles last season for the Bills, is out for the game. They both are back to the practice field, but are expected to be slowly brought up. Maybe next week against the Houston Texans, the Bills will be able to get them back. We'll see what happens there, but it could be maybe 1 to 2 more weeks before we see both Bernard and Johnson back on the field. But Sean, let's turn it over to the offensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills. We've talked about the offense of the Baltimore Ravens a lot. Let's talk about the offense for Buffalo and what they have to do, number one, to come out of this game with a victory.
Yeah, well, they've done a great job of doing being efficient and running the football, not just blocking with the offensive line, but receivers. And I mean, tight ends, they've been kind of, when I've been doing the O-line films, there's been a couple of plays in the run that got blown up where the O-line did everything they're supposed to do, but then, maybe Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid or maybe even a receiver once in a while misses a block and results in a minimal gain or nothing. So, but they're all doing a great job doing their job. And again, we're doing what we always wanted to do. Is that we're the ones dictating the game. We're using motion and other things of that nature to see what they're doing, and then we can decide, or Josh can decide, okay, now we're going to do this, and he's completely in control of the offense. And we're not going to score 37 points on average every game like we have been in the first 3 weeks, but I think this is going to be a hard offense to stop again, because I mean, you're going to have those stinker games once in a while. Every team does, but there's not one thing to focus on. If you stop the run, that's fine, because we can pass deep and we can pass short, which is an extension of the run game. And you don't know who we're going to throw to. Last game we threw to 10 different people. So it's a very exciting time because you're seeing the evolution of Josh Allen, where he's not just relying on a certain thing, and he could be the one making the team better on all phases of the game. And again, we've been running the ball well. I mean, we didn't stat-wise run the ball that well last week, but that game plan was interesting because the Jaguars assumed we were going to come out running the ball a lot, and then we came out passing out the gate a ton, and then they weren't ready for it. And then we liked what we saw, what they were giving us on defense. We just kept passing. They couldn't play in man. They couldn't play in zone. They couldn't press. They couldn't do nothing. And then we just said, okay, we'll make it out of hand, and then we'll start running at the end of the game. So no defense really knows what we're going to come out to do. So they can game plan, okay, in their scripted plays, the first 2 drives, they can be like, okay, we think they're going to pass a lot this time. We're going to come out in the zone coverage here with the cover 2 shell, and then Josh is going to send a guy in motion, see that it's this is going on, and then maybe the next play after that switch to the run plays that we got in the script for the first 2 drives, and then we're the ones that are dictating the game. So continue to be efficient. We're taking care of the football all across. Besides Josh, and nobody else has turned the ball over, nobody's fumbled, anything like that, and they're just doing a great job all around. So hopefully they can continue. It's going to be tough though, because you're in a very hostile environment with amazing fans, and it's going to be very loud. So hopefully no false starts, but everybody's got to pay attention and watch for hand gestures and things like that, because you might not be able to hear. So
yeah, you're exactly right there, Sean. I do want to highlight on the Baltimore Ravens defensive side of the ball, Roquan Smith. He's going to be one of the tough ones for the Bills to go up against, especially in the run game. He also does a good job in coverage as well. He's my player to watch for the Baltimore Ravens. On the other hand, for the Bills, like you mentioned, I mean, it's going to come down to a hostile environment that we're going to be going into. The Bills, yes, they do have to watch for hand signals, and they do have to go through this game, and they have to make sure that they aren't having penalties that hurt them. I felt like over the last couple of games, the Bills have done a great job of playing mistake-free football. So I want to see that again this week, being disciplined and making sure that not only you're doing your job there, but you're on offense. It comes down to making the throws that you have to with Josh Allen. And over the last 3 weeks, he's done a phenomenal job of playing disciplined football and taking care of the football. I think if we win the turnover battle in this game, that's all we need to do. to get this victory here, win the turnover battle, and put up some points when we do get turnovers. This game is going to be one of the premier matchups of the week. I think it's the biggest matchup of the week, in my opinion. I know we're doing weekly picks, and I think that this is going to be one of those matchups that I'm gonna love to see. But when it comes down to the Bills on offense, I think one of the biggest playmakers that we're going to have to see out here this week is going to be Khalil Shakir. He's going to have a big game. I think that they're going to take away Dalton Kincaid in the middle of the field. But like we mentioned, the middle of the field on this defense is going to be open. I'm going to tell you that right now. It'll be open. They're going to have opportunities where they're going to put 8 in the box to try and stop the running back, and you're going to see opportunities for this offense and players to make big plays. I think that it's great that it's going to be a road game because it's going to test the Buffalo Bills over the next 3 weeks to see what type of football team that we're going to be. If we can compete with these big elite teams in the AFC, it's going to be a big test, but it's also going to show the continuity that we have as a team as well. And if we can overcome adversity with the amount of road games that we're going to play and coming together as like I mentioned, as a team, and the camaraderie that we're going to see is going to be on full display.
Absolutely.
I want to go over to the chat real quick. Callie Bill's coming into the chat saying our run game ain't going to work. We got to pass. That's could be true. I do feel like there are opportunities for the Buffalo Bills to be able to run the ball against the Baltimore Ravens. They haven't done a great job of stopping the run. They're still one of the most elite teams in the NFL in terms of their defense, but they have struggled against the run a little bit. I feel like we're going to have to play pass first and then run the ball and take your opportunities and get them when you can. But we'll try and throw them off guard by running the ball a little bit too. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, they're as far as, I mean, it's only 3 games, so it's hard to tell. Their pass defense is ranked 32, so they haven't been good. But that's, both ways for their run defense and pass defense is kind of skewed because they were up 28-6 on Dallas in the fourth quarter, and then they were kind of playing soft shell, giving Dallas whatever they wanted, and then Dallas kept passing. They got an onside kick because Flowers muffed it, got the ball back, pass it. So they had a lot of extra yards put up on them, and then they had a bad fourth quarter against the Raiders. So that could play a little bit into why their pass defense is so bad. But on the other side of the coin, they played against the Cowboys and the Raiders, who are 31 and 32 in rush offense, and they shut them down. So it's really not like, and it's hard to tell, again, with the sample size because they played 2 really bad running offenses, and then, they had huge leads where they were passing a lot in the fourth quarter. And again, unfortunately, they let it go to the Raiders, but they were able to hold strong against the Cowboys. But yeah, it's a little bit skewed. I think we could do both on them. Their defense, they got superstars as well. You mentioned Roquan Smith, but they got Justin Madubuike, who was one of the best defensive tackles in the league last year, and they got Kyle Hamilton at safety. So at each level of the football, they have an elite superstar. So they definitely have talent, but it's such a big deal to miss coordinators and have to switch. And that's one thing I always talked about was in our Super Bowl window, we're exchanging coordinators like underwear. So I'm tired of that. And then you saw what happened last year. It was a little bit of a struggle switching over to coordinators. And we switched 2 coordinators in the middle of the season. We went from Dorsey to Brady. So it's nice, as we notice now, it's nice to have the same people in the building year after year. Now the Ravens are feeling that, and they got a little bit unlucky. They had a chance to beat Kansas City, but Lamar was a little bit late throwing that ball and likely had his foot out of bounds. So there you go, you lost that game, and then you choked against the Raiders when you were dominating them, whereas you probably should have won. And then then you beat Dallas. So they really could be 3-0, but they're having their struggles as well. They have some bad luck. They're very bad. I think they're the most penalized team in the league. So they got the talent to be an amazing elite team. The record isn't showcasing that. So again, we have to be able to do everything that we've been doing as far as run the football efficiently when we do run. And like Callie Bill said, I love to see the pass game, showcased on this game, but we still got to run a little bit. And when we do, it's got to be efficient because as you saw in the Jags game, we didn't run all that often, but they were biting hard on every play action pass because they had to respect the run, whether we were doing it a lot or not. So we'll see, but it's going to be interesting. I definitely can't wait for that.
Yeah, this is an interesting take that Bills Fan CA comes out with. And it's interesting to see that through the first 3 weeks of the season, with everybody doubting what the Bills are going to have with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis being gone, they wrote off the ship for the Buffalo Bills. They're not going to be a playoff team. 3 weeks in a row, you see Buffalo Bills players being the AFC Player of the Week. Hats off to the Buffalo Bills, and that gives you hats off not only to Josh Allen, but hats off to Joe Brady for what he's done for the Buffalo Bills and doing a great job calling the plays through the first 3 weeks of his offensive coordinator career officially with the Buffalo Bills.
100%. Yeah, it's very nice. And, we're a humble group. It's only 3 weeks. We understand that. But for everyone even Mike and I, we said 10-7 until they prove us otherwise because there's a lot of new pieces. I thought this offense could be good. I mentioned they had the potential to be really good. I didn't know they first 3 weeks look like they've been playing together for 3 years. So
yeah,
I'm very, very impressed with it. Just shows all the work that as a whole from top to bottom, ownership to player, that the work they put in leading up to now. So again, very impressed on both sides of the football. Everybody kept talking about Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, the old heads that did a lot for us, but now their time is run short and they're gone. Everyone made that a big deal, but then look at these guys stepping up. I mean, I was worried about missing Milano and Bernard, but then, if these guys can plug and play and be really good, it just goes to show, they have their type. And Balen Spector was a 7th round pick, and he comes in there and he can ball out, and it makes you feel good as a fan that we're 3-0 right now. And the last time we were 3-0 was a few years ago when we were in the AFC Championship. Obviously, there's got a lot more football to play, but we're being doubted by everybody, and being told we're not going to even come close to the division. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're a predictable team. We don't got any talent. To being able to do very well, it's very encouraging. And we got a 3-game road stretch, and I'll tell you what, even if we go 1-2, it doesn't mean that what's been happening in the first 3 weeks isn't still the Buffalo Bills. Now, if you can go 3-0 and then lose 6 games in a row. So it really it's not because people like to make it about that. Oh, now we're really going to know who the Bills are when they go away against 3 contending AFC teams. Now, I understand the premise of that, but at the end of the day, you can win all those games and you go lose the Titans, you go lose to the Patriots twice. So it's not. I don't think it's the be all end all whether we go 3-0 in that stretch or 0-3. So as long as we're playing good football, again, it's going to be tough to win 3 road games in a row. But at the end of the day, even if you lose one, as long as you're not getting smoked, which we haven't been smoked, knock on wood, and it was 60 games in a row, we haven't lost by more than a score. As long as you're competitive with these great teams and then you win 1 or 2 of them, I think, you can take a lot of good from that. But one game at a time, 1 week at a time. And, this Ravens matchup, man, it's early, but it's got implications because, if they win, they're 2-2, we're 3-1. Now we're basically super close as far as seeding goes. So if it comes down to the last week and they're 2 and we're 3 and they beat us and we're tied, then they get the 2 seed. So you have a chance also to put them at 1-3. Right. And then again, they say statistically, if you started 0-3, your season likely is over, but 1-3 might be a little bit different. And then they go play Cincinnati next week. And then they could end Cincinnati's season because they might be 0-4, and then they'd be 0-5 if they lost to Baltimore. So you're going to get Baltimore's best. I thought we were going to get Jacksonville's best last week, and maybe that was their best, and we rose to the occasion and showed them, who we really are. And then Baltimore's at home. They don't want to go to 1-3 because they got a lot of talent and they're in a tough division. But hey, anything can happen, and you want any advantage that you can on all these teams in our conference. So you go to 4-0 and they're 1-3. It's highly unlikely, unless a major collapse happens, that they're going to catch you if you continue to play good football. So we had a good chance here, man.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying there, Sean. Let's go over to the keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills on how they can beat the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Give me some of your keys to the game.
So we can go one at a time. And again, going into this, these are two powerhouses that everyone wants to take down the Chiefs. The Bills and the Ravens. Those are the two teams that have the most opportunity and the best squads to do it. So again, this is going to be an amazing matchup. But it's always win in the trenches, but it's even more important now. We all loved Andrew Voorhees going into the draft. He ended up getting hurt in the combine. He's now finally getting the time to play. He's now hurt again. So I talked to my buddy who's a Ravens fan, and he was assuming he's going to be out. I know he's doubtful, but he's not going to play. And then they're going to move Makari, the right tackle, to left guard. And then they're going to put Rosengarten, their rookie, at right tackle. And again, we know that Linderbaum is coming off a knee injury where he's questionable, so he's not going to be 100%. So you got one of their best their second best lineman is Linderbaum, not 100%. Falele, the right guard, huge. He's like 6'8", 350. Really struggling at right guard. He's more of they drafted him to be a tackle. He's now a developmental guard. He hasn't been good. And then again, Rosengarten's a rookie, so if he's playing right tackle, then you got a bad right guard and a banged up center. And then, your right tackle playing left guard, all you got left is Ronnie Stanley, who is a very elite tackle in this league. Right. So they're coming in banged up, and they don't have the continuity. They have 3 new offensive linemen starting this year, and they've been struggling, but they still have talent. But I think we can expose that in this game, especially with the injury and then the shifting around with injuries. Again, Ronnie Stanley's going to be a tough matchup for anybody, even Von Miller. But yeah, you definitely got to win in the trenches on both sides. And on our offensive line, again, we've been absolutely outstanding. If you watch, if people are watching the film, you can see it, and you can even see it in the game. It's been very enjoyable to break it down. Again, I know I'm ranting, but I love to talk about it. I use PFF and Pro Football Reference, and I mentioned in the game, I was like, I don't think they allowed one single pressure that game against Jacksonville. Pro Football Reference said they allowed nothing, 0% pressure rate on Josh Allen. But PFF said they allowed 7 pressures out of 30, which is still very good. It's only 23% pressure rate. But they have different metrics for pressures. But, I mean, even so, even if 7 is the truth, or we'll say in between, so we'll say like 4. You held Josh Allen, who had 17 sacks last year, Trayvon Walker, who had 10, and then Eric Armstead, who was a great defensive tackle, to nothing. So even though they got Justin Madubuike, Odafe Owe, and Kyle Van Noy coming off the edge, I think our offensive line could be up for the challenge. And like you mentioned, our running backs have been good at picking up the blitz, which they're supposed to do. And then even our receivers and tight ends can block good once in a while. So win in the trenches.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right there, Sean. That's a great key to the game. For me, it comes down to taking care of the football. Again, another week that we need to take care of the football for the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen, yes, he's done a phenomenal job over the first 3 weeks of the year. Another week that we need you to take care of the football, take what the defense gives you, and not turn the football over. And that goes for the entire not only Josh Allen, but the entire offense needs to take care of the football. It's going to be slippery out there. Have 2 hands on the ball when they go to tackle you, and make sure that we continue to get drives, not giving the Baltimore Ravens opportunities to get short fields to put points on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I got, stopping Derrick Henry. I know Jessica mentioned it on the Summit show about making sure Derrick Henry has to run east to west. And I know there was a little bit of pushback on her comment about us stopping Derrick Henry. But I'm in full agreement with her. That's the thing about Derrick Henry. He's a phenomenal running back, but he's like 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like most running backs are like 5. He's like 7 yards because he wants that real big motion going into the line of scrimmage because he's not good at accelerating. So if you can stuff the middle and force him to bounce outside, that's when he struggles. There was the last 2 matchups with him. I think we gave up 32 yards and 39 yards. But then he had that one game when they were the 1 seed in Tennessee when Josh fumbled at the 1 yard line. When it was 34-31. We could have kicked a field goal to go to overtime. we went to win the game and he fumbled the snap. He had 170 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns that game. But other than that, we've done a very good job against him. He's obviously a key piece in their offense, and he's a very good player, but we've had success against him. So I agree with her comment on making sure he's not running north and south and he has to bounce outside, because if we're keeping our gaps and doing everything we're supposed to do, we can force him to do that, and then we can gang tackle and wrap up on him, and then that's all she wrote for that. But again, he's a outstanding player. This team's full of them, so if you can limit any of their outstanding players, it's good for us.
Yeah, absolutely there, Sean. I love exactly what you're saying. For me, the next key to the game comes down to the Buffalo Bills on defense. I feel like it's going to be super important. You mentioned the battle in the trenches. It's important to maintain your gaps in this game when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Maintain every gap, every opportunity. Don't over pursue in this game, because what Lamar Jackson is going to do is he's going to take off and he's going to run. You're going to see opportunities for that, and he's going to pick up 20 to 25 yards down the field. He's going to be way behind you, and you're going to look like, you're having a sandwich over on the other side of the field. Make sure you maintain your gaps, get inside, get containment inside. That way you have to allow Lamar to escape out wide, which we have some athletic safeties for the Buffalo Bills. We also have some great cornerbacks for the Bills, and they can take care of the tackles there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my last thing would be, I said in my other show, work the middle of the field, but more importantly, flush Kyle Hamilton out of every play. So use guys like Keon Coleman to wash them away, and then throw the underneath to guys like Khalil Shakir. You don't want, Kyle Hamilton's 6'4". He's a hard hitter. He's great. He's a great safety, one of the best safeties in the league. He's an all-pro. So you want him away from his plays as much as possible. They're probably going to run cover 2 all the time against us. And then again, you want to get him out of the play. And we've done that a few times already this year, where we have the eye candy, and then we got the other route underneath where Josh can, see both in front of him come across his face and then make the right decision. And if we can do that and keep him away from the ball, and have to make him have to make plays after the ball's already in the receiver's hand, I think that'd be good. But again, this is going to be an outstanding matchup. It's crazy. Lamar and Allen have only played 3 times total in their career against each other in the same draft class, but there's also Dalton Kincaid and Zay Flowers from the same draft class in the first round. So that's pretty cool too. And, I know we were big Zay Flowers fans over here. Probably couldn't have gone wrong either way, but, we'll see who has a better game.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, Sean. We'll see who has the better game. My last key to the game is going to come down to the special teams. We don't talk about special teams a lot on this channel, which I want to. John Harbaugh, a special teams guy. You know damn well he's going to try and throw something out there against the Buffalo Bills. I feel like they're going to try and do some type of trickery play. Be ready for that trickery, because it's coming right now. Mark my words, you're going to remember this one during our pregame and halftime show and postgame show when I talk about it on Go Bills podcast, or if you're watching on Nickel City Mafia, wherever you're watching. Mark my words that I say this. John Harbaugh is going to come out with a trick play on special teams. Watch and see.
Okay. You ready?
I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. I put in the channel real quick score predictions, and if you are watching here on Nickel City Mafia, drop in the comment section your score predictions for the game. I see Cali Bills coming in for score predictions, saying 35-28 Buffalo Bills. That's a great score prediction there. Sean, do you have any score predictions for the game?
Well, I don't play favorites, so I just say what I think the game could be. And either way, I think it's going to be like a 24-21 or like a 27-24 type game. And the 3 matchups they've had together, it was 24-17 Baltimore, 17-3 Buffalo, and 23-20 Buffalo. So they really haven't been high scoring. And that 24-17 game was when they were 14-2 that 1 year. And we played a really good game against them. We just fell short. But yeah, these are always good matchups with great coaching and great play. So I assume it's going to be something like that, unless, again, one of the teams turns the ball over a ton and gives other teams short field. But yeah, I see it being 27-24 either way, or 24-21.
I actually see the Bills winning this one 30 to, I'm going to say 24. 30 to 24 Buffalo Bills win there. A couple of Tyler Bass kicks that are going to be important in this game, and some good special teams play from the Buffalo Bills overall. But Sean, before we end the show, I want to do something I mentioned earlier before the show.
Sure.
Before we started the show, how we were going to dedicate the show to the people that are affected from Hurricane Helene, and I've actually never had the opportunity to do this, and I would like to welcome everybody that's watching the show real quick. We do have a comment coming in, but before I end it, I will do this. I want to do a prayer for everybody that's been affected from the hurricane. But first, I'm going to read this comment from Carl Tom and coming in. He says, I think that the key to the game for both the Bills and the Ravens is that Josh and Lamar are both going to throw short passes over the middle to their slot receivers. Linebackers will decide who wins the game. Would you agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, definitely going to be part of it for sure. They both, it's part of the efficiency thing for both of them. You get those plays to your playmakers where the other players aren't. Give them a play at the ball. So yeah, that's a great point. It's not going to be the only thing in the game, but huge part of it for sure.
Definitely, I think it is. And Carl, we appreciate you for coming into the chat as well. This is my first time seeing you in the chat, so we appreciate you for being a valued member of Nickel City Mafia, and as well as everybody else that's in the chat. Callie Bills, I haven't seen you in a long time, but thank you for tuning in, as well as Trek Reviewer Tom, Bills Fan CA. Appreciate you guys always for tuning in. But before we end the show, I do want to do that prayer that I was mentioning here. I want to take a moment to just pray for everybody that's been affected from the storm. So without further ado, we're going to bow our heads and do this prayer real quick. Heavenly Father, for all of those that are affected by the hurricane in the beautiful state of Florida and across the United States, we ask for your protection and strength for those who are struggling in the aftermath of the storm, bringing comfort to those who have lost loved ones, homes, or livelihoods. Grant wisdom and endurance to the first responders, the volunteers, and all those who are working tirelessly to provide relief and aid. May your presence bring peace and hope amidst the chaos and destruction that we have seen. Help the community to come together in love and support, rebuilding not just their homes, but also their spirits. Guide them through the challenges ahead and let them feel your unwavering love and care in every step of the journey. In your mercy and grace we pray. Amen. We thank you guys, every single one of you, for tuning in to Nickel City Mafia. As this is a very difficult time for me. I do apologize for being very sentimental and emotional during this show. This is hard for me going through the hurricane and seeing the aftermath that we have seen. But just remember that you can always go out and you can help somebody and give somebody a helping hand every chance that you get. So for Sean Kula, I am Brett McDurphy. We appreciate you guys for tuning in to Red, White, and Ruthless. We will be back next week on Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment on this video, drop a nickel on the like button. Also, go over to the Discord that's in the comment section below. You can tune into that, and you can also message us throughout the week. But for myself, I will have my next show tomorrow on my channel, Go Bills Podcast. Click on over on YouTube as well as Facebook. You can find us on there. But you can also go on over to Red, White, and Bills. You can find Sean on YouTube. He does a great job with all of his offensive line film. Also, his pregame shows are awesome. And I got to say, man, your thumbnails are coming in handy lately. I'm telling you right now. I don't know who's doing it, but somebody that's gotten on your team and everything has done a phenomenal job. And you're starting to pick up some steam, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Well, it's all because of you guys. So
We appreciate you guys. And we always say before we end the show, go Bills. And
Go Bills.
you see Mike coming in saying drop a nickel on the subscribe button. If you are new to the channel, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Saturday on Nickel City Mafia, but we'll also see you on our channels. As always, go Bills.
Go Bills.